Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me again for another video. The mileage is adding up very quickly on the vehicle at this point. We have about a little over 15,000 miles on the car right now. So we're just going to go over a few things that I've noticed with the car so far with this mileage. So Apple CarPlay is a great idea in practice, but Apple CarPlay definitely, at least in the Audi A4 series, including the allroad, is a bit glitchy. For the most basic functions, definitely for playing back music, things of that nature, works relatively okay. There's a few glitches from here and there, like for example, you see the track playing there, but when you go over to the virtual cockpit, it's basically showing unknown artist, unknown track. So things like that are a little bit annoying. There's also an issue in Apple CarPlay that if you're actively in Apple CarPlay and you put the car in reverse, so you put the car in reverse here, and then at that point, if you go back to something like drive, and then once the parking system goes away, going back to Apple CarPlay, you can't do it. Like it just, for whatever reason, can't do it. Now, there is a bit of a workaround, but I don't know if it's going to work in all cases. At this point, the only way to really resolve this problem is to unplug your iPhone and then plug your iPhone back in, and hopefully here in a second that it will reconnect. So the best thing you can do in that situation, and I know I don't remember in every situation, but if you're going to be putting the car in reverse or the parking system is going to be engaged, then what I would recommend first is just hitting the menu tab on your MMI here. If you just hit menu first, then that will basically bring it back to the main menu of the MMI system. And at that point, if you hit reverse, if you go back into reverse and then come back into something like drive, once that goes away, then you can come back in the Apple CarPlay. But again, it's very difficult to remember to always hit the menu button before the parking system's engaged. So I don't know who really would be fixing that issue, but hopefully Audi and Apple can work together to resolve this problem. So as for the sound system, the B&O sound systems that comes with the higher end trims of the allroads and A4s, I really think that is a really good system. However, I think the system definitely needs a few hours of break-in time before you get the maximum potential out of the system. For whatever reason, I don't know, my opinion on the system has changed. At the very beginning, I was quite unhappy with the system at the beginning and just really wasn't impressed with the sound. Definitely something like the ELS systems in the Acuras. I always thought that was a really great sounding system. Had that in the TSX and the RDX, and those systems really performed very well. But coming into the B&O system in the Audi at the beginning, definitely was not impressed. But over time, and as more hours has the system's been used, I feel like the system definitely has improved over time, and definitely just sounds much better after a little bit of break-in time. Another big factor in this with any sound system will be your audio sources. So definitely something like Sirius XM, definitely that's a super low bit rate, not going to sound very good. And then most of your streaming services are relatively going to have a relatively low bit rate also. So your higher bit rate, MP3s, FLAC files, AACs, definitely will sound the best in the car. And but overall, impressed with the audio system. No rattles or anything like that when pushing the system at higher volumes. Everything remains clear and tight with the system. So overall, very pleased with the sound system in the car. Just kind of looking at my settings here. I'm not sure if that's the best settings, but sounds fine to me. So I just want to point out how impressed I was with the sunroof liner and how well that keeps the heat off the passenger and the driver. I was a little bit concerned because that's only a piece of cloth there between the sunroof blocking out any of the heat and sun rays from hitting the driver and passenger, but no concerns there. That sunscreen does an excellent job of keeping the sun and heat off the driver and passenger. I have not once had a problem with that, and I was a little concerned at the beginning, but no concerns, no worries with that, even in all of Texas in the hot heat. So far, so good with this. So another option I've chosen to disable would be the set speed limit. I just turned this one off also. And so what this does is basically in a situation where you're using cruise control, and if the car sees a slower speed limit, so for example, if you're going 75, 70, and that was the last road sign that you saw, then that would be the speed limit set for the cruise control. But if you come into a, like a small town situation where you have to decrease your speed from like 75 or 70 to like 55, and the car sees that sign, the car tries a little bit too abruptly to decrease the speed. And so it can be kind of jarring when you're coming across a situation when you're cruising at 70 and then the car reads a sign that's slower, and then the car just tries a little bit too hard to get to that speed limit, and it's just not a very smooth transition. So I've also chosen to turn this option off. So just an update on the recall situation. I haven't not yet received the replacement badges for the B&O recall, just the badges that were removed, but have not yet been replaced. So hopefully the dealership can get back with me on when those will be available. If you guys already know this information, then please comment below. So one option that I've chosen to disable would be the adaptation to route ahead, and you can find this option in the adaptive cruise control predictive settings or predictive controls within the MMI. And what this allows, this does not really allow the car to maintain your set speed when cruising using the adaptive cruise control. So for example, if you've set cruise control to 75, if there happens to be a bend in the road and or some other slight turn in the highway, the car may choose to slow down maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour slower than your set cruise control speed. And normal cruise control systems, when this option is turned off, then basically the car will just continue the speed that you have set the whole time. Here the car is using the GPS information about your route or the current road you're on and reading that information, and if it determines that the bend in the road or the turn in the road is too much for your speed that you're going, then it will choose to slow you down. But you can just turn this option off just by disabling the adaptation to route ahead. I will just choose to turn that off. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and hope to see you next time in the next video. Thank you for watching.